Story 1. Every problem she had was an emergency that I needed to drop everything for and give her my undivided immediate attention. But when I was having a rough time, the reply I got from her was, "Stop your nonsense." Story 2. I met some new people and I noticed that I liked hanging out with them more because they didn't make me feel bad. I didn't really notice it at the time, but looking back on it now, I realized that the guy I considered my best friend was actually my biggest bully. He was constantly insulting me, embarrassing me in front of other people, belittling me, and I just thought that's what friends did. I had to make real friends to learn that's not the case. Story 3. My dad died. I asked if a few of my friends would hang out and have a low-key night playing video games. I told them I didn't want to have a big party. They said that was cool. I showed up, and they had invited a lot of people for a huge house party. Then they got upset that I was just sulking on the couch and got angry with me. Our friendship never recovered, and now we don't talk at all. Story 4. Friends for 20 years. She didn't drive, so throughout our entire friendship, I would take her grocery shopping every week. I took her cats to the veterinarian and helped her when she lost her house. For 20 years, I asked her for nothing. My husband was suddenly diagnosed with brain cancer. The day he was released from the hospital after having a tumor the size of a lemon removed, I called in a prescription he needed. Our local pharmacy didn't have it, so I would have to drive an hour round trip, and my husband wasn't able to handle that amount of time in the car. I called to ask if she could stay with him while I got his medication. She told me no because she wanted to go to the store with her boyfriend. I called my neighbor and she watched him. I never talked to her again. It's been almost 10 years. Story 5. In 2017, my best friend and I bought a house together. It was my grandmother's house, and she had just gone into a nursing home, so we got it for a low price. The goal was to renovate it and eventually sell it. By 2021, it had become clear that it was more work than we were capable of. Plus, the house was small, just 920 square feet and a single story, so any buyer was just going to knock it down and build something bigger on the same footprint anyway, which is just what happened, so it felt like we were doing a lot of work for nothing. In April of 2021, we sold it and made about $100,000 profit. And then my best friend since middle school, who had never given me any reason to doubt or mistrust him, and who had always been there for me through thick and thin, as I had been for him, disappeared with all the money. First, I wasn't sure what was happening. I thought there must have been some kind of mistake. Surely he couldn't have done what I thought. But eventually, he responded to a text message with, "Forget you." So I knew it was real. I just didn't know why. I sued him, but it didn't go well. Did you know that for an amount as small as $100,000, really only $50,000 since I was only entitled to half, no lawyer will take your case on contingency? I sure didn't. It turns out that is much too small an amount for them to bother with. And did you know that banks don't give personal loans for lawsuits? Another today I learned for me, so I had to pay for the lawsuit out of pocket. Unfortunately, my now ex-friend hired a lawyer who specializes in dragging cases out and running up the bills so that the other side runs out of money and gives up. I burned through all of my savings in a few months and then had to drop the case. That was in the spring of 2022. Last month, on August 15th, my former friend committed suicide. I never ended the friendship at all. That was all on him. And to this day, I still don't really know why. I spoke to his ex-girlfriend, who hadn't seen him since December of 2021, and she thought he had a mental break, like a psychotic episode. But psychotic episodes don't usually last 3 years. And he was sane enough to hire a cutthroat attorney to defend his theft. So I am left with a lot of questions and very few answers. Good night and good luck, old friend. May you find the peace that eluded you in life. Despite everything that happened, I never stopped thinking of you as a brother. Story 6. I got clean from drugs and he did not. I still care about him and hope the best for him, but he just does not want to get clean. I tried to be his support for a while, but it was just taking a toll on myself with no forward progress for him. Story 7. With nearly all friendships and family relationships, if I don't reach out, we don't speak. It's a sad reality that I have come to accept, particularly since my father's parents went to great efforts to make sure we all stayed in touch. The other thing I have found is that this seems to be pretty common during the busy phase of people's lives. Story 8. We grew apart. Sounds cliche, but life took us in different directions. I got married, moved to a different city, and had kids. He stayed in our hometown, stayed single, and we just stopped having common interests. The calls went from every day to once a week, then once a month, and then nothing. Sometimes that's just how life goes. Story 9. A couple of months before my wedding, he told me he did not want to be my best man anymore via WhatsApp. The conversation that followed revealed that he was extremely jealous of the relationship my now wife and I have. We had been friends for 20 years. Story 10. We were friends for over 40 years, friends since childhood. We entered into a business together, and he completely betrayed me, taking most of the money with him and leaving me in crushing debt. Years later, I asked why he did it. His answer was, "Because you're an atheist. You rejected God. So you deserve everything you get." And that was that. Story 11. We grew apart as friends. Both of us had made other friends and moved on from each other. Neither of us stayed in touch, though it also had more to do with moving to different cities and not knowing how to contact each other. The internet did not exist back then. My friend died in a car accident when he was 37, and I felt sad for his family, for his loss, and for everyone who had known him. Story 12. I spent years dying of organ failure. My friends began to see me as a burden, a reminder of their own mortality. So they stopped answering when I called and stopped coming by to visit. I spent months in the hospital, withering in pain, and no one came to see me besides my mom. I got a transplant and I'm all better now, but I'm quite lonely and sad. Story 13. In 2018, I was really sick with kidney failure and was in and out of the emergency room multiple times before I finally got diagnosed with chronic kidney disease. My friend didn't like that I was getting a lot of attention from our other friends and people in our small town. She decided to go around school and lie to people, saying I was lying about being sick and just wanted attention. When I was finally getting better and was actually home for more than a few days, she came over with a few of her friends and was laughing, trying to embarrass me in front of them, trying to get me to say I was, in fact, lying about being sick. It wasn't until I pulled out all the medications I was on and proved that I was yellowish in the skin. It was obvious when you actually looked at my eyes. I embarrassed her in front of everyone. She cried and played victim. She ran out of the house, and I haven't talked to her since. It's a bit sad because we were friends since kindergarten, but I guess that's what jealousy does to people. Story 14. Moved in with him into a house his parents owned because they were helping us with rent, and over the next year, I found out what kind of person he really was. Even as I was moving out, he tried to scam me out of $200. Our rent was $600 per month, split between him, me, and a third friend of ours. He was trying to tell me I still owed for the final month, and I even had to bring his parents into it to explain to him that we paid at the beginning of a month for that month, not the previous month. Story 15. Turns out I considered him my best friend, but he considered me a sucker. He was stealing from me for years, and he would make fun of me to his other friends. Story 16. We keep arguing about politics and religions. We don't have the same principles. I just hate talking about this kind of thing because it's just a useless and endless topic, but she always keeps talking about it, and it's so annoying. Story 17. In middle school, I had my first best friend. We'd play video games together, have sleepovers, and so on. When we got older, he got into World of Warcraft, which my parents understandably didn't want to pay the subscription for. He started hanging out with me less and eventually joined in on being a bit of a bully to me because I was weird and nerdy. Eventually, we just stopped hanging out. It was tough at the time, but I found new and better friends that I am still friends with now at 30. But yeah, a friendship ending over World of Warcraft is pretty funny looking back. Story 18. He surrendered his dog back to the shelter after 5 years of owning him. His name was Dusty. He was a golden retriever, and he was the best boy ever. I would play fetch with him for hours until he would nearly pass out at my feet. Dusty was amazing. I loved him. One day, I went over to Dale's house, and I asked, "Where's Dusty?" He answered, "Oh, I gave him back to the shelter." I exclaimed, "Why?" Dale said, "I only got him so that I could meet girls easier. And now that I'm married, I don't need him anymore. Besides, having a dog is a lot of responsibility." I replied, But you knew how I felt about him. Why didn't you ask me? I would have gladly adopted him. Dale responded, You know, I never even thought of that. I left immediately and drove to the shelter. Dusty had already found a new home. So, I'm sad and glad at the same moment. I'm glad your wife finally divorced you. Story 19. My best friend threw a party. Another friend sexually harassed me at the party. I tried to tell my best friend what happened, and she said, in these exact words, You should try seeing it from her side. A lot of drama ensued afterward, which resulted in me losing all of my friends from that friend group. It really sucked, but I'm doing my best to move on from the situation. Story 20. She texted me she was taking a bottle of pills, a goodbye letter to her mom, and all her passwords and information because she was committing suicide while I was 2 hours away. She would not answer the phone for 20 minutes. I called emergency services. She blamed me for an ambulance showing up to her apartment for a wellness check and said I overreacted. Story 21. Because of a girl, I was dating her, and at the time when we were arguing, she cried to him. As a result, they started to develop feelings, and she left me and started dating my friend. My friend betrayed me for a girl. Never mind, after half a year, I laughed when I found out that they broke up. He traded friendship for a 6-month relationship. What the heck? Story 22. Realized he was using me the whole 10-year friendship. Dude also was really controlling and just a massive hypocrite. It got even worse when he became more religious. He just became this sanctimonious asshole. Looking back, I was warned about him by multiple people that this is who he is. When I blocked him, I swear it felt like a weight had been lifted. Story 23. Long story short, I moved, and he got jealous of my new relationship. We were friends for over 20 years. I got a new job last year an hour away from my hometown, which we both moved back to after I graduated from college and he completed his military service. I also started dating a girl who just bought a house in the town I moved to. This caused a year-long drama of epic proportions. He started getting upset that I never planned things or invited him anywhere, which was partially true. I was also pursuing a master's program on top of moving and starting a new full-time job with a commute. I would occasionally head back to my hometown and invite him to places both here and there. He continually ignored me or wasn't happy with my suggestions for activities. I was supposed to be his best man for his upcoming wedding in 3 years. A month after I agreed, he called me, wondering why I hadn't planned anything yet. The new girl I was dating, we had a family emergency over Christmas, which I couldn't attend an event former friend invited me to. I called him to apologize and reschedule. Unprompted, he went on a tirade about her finances and new house, claiming she was lying to me and how her father was a bad man who wouldn't let his daughter shop at thrift stores, where we got most of the furniture. He also accused me of lying to him. He invited me golfing one day since a festival we were both going to sold out. My girlfriend and I were going to show up later as she had a horse lesson. She couldn't drive due to a concussion. He left the festival early, right as I dropped her off. He proceeded to tell me sarcastically, Geez, some girlfriend you have who isn't trying to get to know your best friend. He texted me 2 days later, Wait, isn't your girlfriend not riding due to her concussion? Me, Yes, recall I told you she's doing groundwork. Him, Either she's lying to you, or you're lying to me. Her doing horse lessons with a concussion on a Sunday doesn't make sense, and you should break up with her. That was strike 3 for me. Other than the above, he over the preceding 3 years always played the victim. He got fired from almost 12 jobs in a span of 3 years and wouldn't take accountability. Called therapy useless, got a medical marijuana card instead, and frequently drove while impaired, resulting in several car accidents. He then attempted to sue those he hit. Had a major superiority complex with narcissistic traits. Wouldn't participate in activities we once enjoyed in high school, such as hiking or shooting, which made connecting very difficult. Cornered me in a store bathroom and wouldn't let me leave while we were on a road trip, proceeding to scream at me about how I was ruining his vacation to the point that security intervened. He got upset because I ran into the store to use the bathroom, thinking I was avoiding him. Didn't compensate me other than buying a bag of chips when I helped him move furniture across 2 states. Honestly, good riddance. Story 24. I don't know, to be honest, we just ran out of the talking juice. I saw him a few months ago and said, "Oh, hey, what's up, dude?" at a shopping mall for about 10 seconds, and then we disappeared into our own lives again. Story 25. In 1993, I think he failed to pay traffic tickets. I posted bail. He said he would pay me back. I put it on the back burner and said nothing about it to anyone. Less than a week later, our mutual friend asked why I was hounding him for the money. So he borrowed money and then insulted me to our friends. I should have listened to his dad and let him sit for a few days.